Hello all and welcome. So today it's just me, so Adrianna from Cultivate the Moments, and it is so great to be here with you today. I think these last few weeks have given me a lot of time to reflect and a lot of time to get back in tune with myself and really evaluate my personal wellness tank, which is the topic of this discussion today. As many of you know, if you're frequent listeners of Cultivate the Moments, we have what I like to call a wellness tank, which I will get further into in a little bit. But essentially, you can think about it in regards to you and how fulfilled you feel. Like I said, we'll get into it in a little bit here. I want to start off by doing some groundwork. So I haven't had a podcast just on my own in a while, and it's been so great to have so many amazing guests on. Looking back, it's just so amazing, and every single guest that I've had on and even just connected with and haven't had on yet has just been amazing to connect and continue my competency and knowledge through others by learning through others. And I think, taking a step back, we can think about those key foundational things of recreation therapy. We can begin to recognize how a strength-based approach really shows up in our entire life and how each and every one of us do have strengths that we are sharing and giving to the world, and we really have a meaningful impact in the world. So I wanted to give us a little friendly reminder, because I know these past few weeks I've needed that reminder, and I think it's always important to remind ourselves and our loved ones about this. So getting into the content a little bit more, I really think before doing something really in depth or talking about our wellness, it's good to just do a little check-in prior to. So really, how you're feeling, energy levels. Are you feeling a little anxious, stressed? Do you feel tight or sore in any places? I think it's good to really tune into our body. And for me, whenever I'm doing any kind of reflection practice, I find that my head feels a little scattered, if I'm being honest, before I go into it. And if I don't do something like mindfulness or meditation, I go into it without really going in depth. What I mean by this is, I'll give you an example. A session I ran quite a while ago now was all about nature journaling. And with this, we were supposed to observe how we're doing, in our bodies and psychologically, as well as observe the world around us. And prior to doing a meditation or mindfulness activity, I wasn't really in tune with myself. I wasn't really checking in fully and recognizing what things may be tight, what things may be on my mind, what things are coming up, but I might be just masking. This is just personally for me. And so, in a little bit here, I'm going to do just a small little mindfulness practice from one of my favorite books, which I will give a huge recommendation for. It's called The Little Book of Mindfulness, and it's nice because it's just grab and go, and the exercises range anywhere from 5 minutes to 10 minutes. And I find them really nice because it gives you some guidance. I also really love guided meditation or mindfulness activities. You can find them for free lots of the time on YouTube. And for me, I need some direction. And depending on how long you've been practicing, you might be able to practice without that. Just keep in mind what works for you, because not every practice, not every way to practice works for everyone. So just keep in mind that what works for you is important. And it's okay if what works for you doesn't work for someone else, or what works for someone else doesn't work for you. Because like everything in life, it's very individualized. So let's get started. Let's tune in. Let's just take a few breaths, because I feel like I'm out of breath from talking already. So I'm first just going to start with doing box breathing. So breathing in for a set amount of time, holding it for a set amount of time, breathing out for a set amount of time, and holding it again. So we're going to essentially complete this box. And for me, I find 7 seconds work. But if you have a different strategy that works, I really recommend you play around. For me, this box breathing really helps when I'm feeling anxious or nervous about something, especially test anxiety. So I know thankfully lots of us are out of school now and enjoying the summer. But school is right around the corner again for many of us. And even just in regular day to day, there's lots of different things that are stressful. And for me, lots of the time, I don't even realize that my breath has become a little shorter and a little more stressing on my body until I do this practice. So I'm gonna breathe in for 7 seconds. Lots of people breathe in and choose to do 4 seconds. It really depends. So I'm gonna just say breathe in, and then I'm gonna count in my head. Okay, hold and breathe out, and then hold again. I should also put a disclaimer in that if you are doing this practice while driving, just make sure that you're still fully alert. And if you don't feel alert, be sure to pause and pick it up another time. So let's get started. So we're going to breathe in and hold and breathe out. Hold and breathe in and hold and out and hold and in. Last set and hold and out. You want to continue this, feel free to pause. I find box breathing really helpful in my own life, and when I'm feeling anxious, I tend to lean towards it a lot. So now that we've kind of worked on our breath, we can take some deep breaths if we want to. Feel free to pause at any time. And next, we're going to do a really great mindfulness practice. So it says this one's 5 minutes, maybe shorter or longer, depending. And again, feel free to pause. So this one's called Tune In. So it says the goal is to experience life and experience it as it unfolds, because often when we are out of tune, life feels like it's just happening and it can feel kind of out of control, or that it's coming so rapidly. But when we truly tune in, we can take our life in strides, I find at least. So this is really focusing on staying present and calm and not slipping into any thinking and worrying mode, and instead anchor us in awareness and point our focus directly to the mind. So I love this, and getting started by breath, I think, is a good way to really focus and center ourselves. So feel free, if you are in a safe place to do so, to close your eyes. So it's really focusing too on sound. So lots of the time, if we minimize our senses, so by closing our eyes, we can focus on one specific sense, I should say. So this really allows us to really narrow in and focus on our current moment. And I find senses to be really great to do this. So it says to start within 5 minutes and to do a time that feels right for you. So if you feel that this is too much at any time, or you're feeling like it's dragging on for you, it's okay. And I'm not offended if you do skip through. So first, just find a nice little quiet spot in your home, garden, park, or city, and take a seat. Now, gently close your eyes, like I had mentioned before, or keep a soft focus. Allow the sounds to enter your awareness. Now we can let them pass, just like clouds passing in the sky. We may find sounds from near, maybe a dog's barking, or some things wandering around, or far. Just allow this to come and go. There's no need to label these sounds, such as a car, a bird, and so on, because when we do label them, sometimes stories get involved. So instead, just focusing on this sound and hearing it as we breathe in, maybe focus on it, and as we breathe out, just let this sound or sense go. Just take a few moments to, let similarly your thoughts in through the breath, and then just releasing them and letting go, just like clouds in the sky, like they had said before. Just bringing awareness to your breath and to the sounds around us. Allowing my voice, if you're comfortable, to guide you through this, and hopefully calmly allowing you to breathe in and becoming aware, and breathing out and letting it pass. We often allow our minds and our surroundings to become busy. So with this, we really just let them come and go as they are, without judgment or concern. Whenever your mind or thoughts wander, just gently come back to the sounds and the breath. You can keep doing this for as long as you want. You can pause and continue. We're going to move on. So just fluttering your eyes if they were closed, maybe moving your neck around. Maybe giving yourself a big stretch, waking ourselves up, truly checking in and seeing how we're feeling after. We feel more in tune with our surroundings, more in tune with what's going on in our head or the thoughts around us. Lots of the time for myself, after doing one of these practices, I can already just feel a lot of tension. I carry it lots in my neck and shoulders, but it reducing slightly because sometimes when we feel like life is just coming and coming, it can really boil up in our bodies physiologically, but also emotionally and mentally. And so by really becoming in the present and just focusing on that inhale, that exhale, the sounds around us, we can really draw on that present moment. And leading into this next activity, it's really important to be in the present moment because we're going to be talking about wellness. And by seeing how we're doing, how we're feeling, we can really begin to unfold and unravel what things we may need, a little bit extra time in. And I want you to think about this and consider this in a non-judgmental way. I know for myself, sometimes when I'm doing all this work, it's like I always have to better myself. I always have to, keep striving for bigger and better things. But for this, really becoming in tune with the present moment, we can really just be accepting and loving of ourselves and really take into account what things we may need. Moving forward, we're going to be talking about our wellness tanks. But if after this you feel in a reflective state, you can also tune into how you're doing and, if you do need to reach out and have some support, or if there's some activities that you hadn't done in a long time that you really want to do, and really prioritizing that time and that time to recharge, because it's just as important, if not more important, than those sometimes draining tasks. So next we're going to get into the activity. So if you want to follow along, you can pause, and the link below that says activity booklet will have the first 2 pages, which we'll be covering here. And the last 2 pages I've actually already covered, and I'll link that podcast and YouTube channel below. So if you are watching on YouTube, you can see the image, but essentially it's kind of like a jerry can or a tank, and it's called our wellness tank. So we can think about this of things that fill it up and make us feel recharged and energized and really just make us feel better or happier, depending on the situation. And then we can also think of things that may drain this tank. So in this activity, we're first going to talk about what fills my wellness tank. So I thought I'd make it interactive and have you guys fill it out while we're talking about it. So when you think of this term, I would love for you to pause or take a moment to really think, what does fill my wellness tank? And I want you to know that there's no right, no wrong answer. This is just a personal inquiry, as I like to call them, a little check-in of what things make me feel better, what things make me you know feel recharged. And this could be activities, this could be thoughts. It's really open to you, because with each individual, there's going to be individual actions that really fill them up. So I know for me, and we'll dive into this in a little bit here, but for socializing, I love socializing and helping people. That's so, so, so important to me. But I know that if I'm not helping myself, it becomes really draining if I'm helping others. So I know that what fills my wellness tank is doing activities for myself. And sometimes this is really hard because I feel like you could call me maybe like a people pleaser. I am a very caring and compassionate person, and I think, really working through some self-compassion things, because um I think it's important really to be open and honest with you. And for me, I think self-compassion doesn't come naturally to me. I'm so compassionate and loving and caring to everyone I meet. I could know them for a minute to, my entire life. Regardless, I come in with a compassionate and giving heart. And I want to, turn this into myself too and be giving and caring to myself. So for me, something that has been filling my wellness tank lately is doing activities that are just solely for me and things that I really love and enjoy. And this could be a wide variety of things for many people. But like I said, what fills one person's wellness tank won't fill another's. So really take some time to reflect on this, and feel free to pause if you want. And if not, you can always do it another time. So after hopefully we've written down some things that really fill our wellness tank, we can do a little check-in. So I'm going to read a little bit off of the second page that I made in this handout. So it has different domains of wellness, and I did broaden this than just the physical, emotional, cognitive, social, and spiritual. I also added occupation and environment because I think these are important for many of us. And as we go through them, I will give some brief information for each as well. So really, wellness can be understood as a holistic method of health, and it looks differently for everyone. As I mentioned, it is important really to check in with our wellness and reflect and take note on things that are impacting it. Maybe there's things that are really, really recharging in our lives, and maybe there's things that are draining. And it's really finding a balance between both so we don't pour from an empty tank, and so that we also have some give in there of we are able to recharge when we do feel drained. And What I hope with this is that our little wellness tank we can utilize, and when we're feeling like we need to refill, and even just as preventatives during the week, we can pull from this and say, oh, this really refills me. I should do this. And I really encourage everyone to do at least one refilling activity a day because really so many things can drain from our wellness tank. And this isn't a bad thing. I don't want it to be judgmental. Even for work, if we are in a helping profession, it's just inevitable that when we're constantly giving to others, that eventually we need to realize that we have to give to ourselves, and it's so important. We can think of the often referred to thought of an airplane. You have to put your oxygen tank on before your others, your loved ones, if you do have small kids or someone you need to help. And I think this is really important to recognize in our wellness as well. So, breaking it down, I have a bunch of different prompts, and this is a very reflective podcast. So, if you have a pen and paper, I encourage you to write these down. And if you want to follow along, you can always download the free PDFs as well. So, in our social tank, we can think of how can I fill my social wellness tank? And another thing to consider is, does social connection tire me or recharge me? And I think for everyone, there's different situations where it does both. So just being able to reflect on that because it's important to, be aware of those things. Next, we can look at our cognitive wellness tank and think of what things really help to fill that. And also, what activities can restore your cognitive tank? So, what things allow you to learn more or to feel more motivated or encouraged to learn? So, as we think of this, we can think of abstract thinking. It's not just activities, it's different mindsets and different structures that we can have in place. Next, I want to talk a little bit about spiritual. I've mentioned till I'm blue in the face that spiritual is not just religious, but it's something that's doing something to better ourselves, as well as things that contribute to our values and beliefs. So for me, I really love volunteering, and that's something that really restores that and refills that. So, what activities you do for your spiritual wellness, and what activities restore this? So, maybe it's a mindset, maybe there's specific activities, maybe it's mindfulness. It's really individualized, and I really want to drive this home. And next is occupational. So I think it's important to recognize that occupation is not just work, it's a variety of different things. So when you think of, say, an occupational therapist, they're talking about just daily tasks of living. So we can think of what things refill this wellness tank. So this might be different things that we want to learn or we want to practice. And really, does occupation recharge you? Does it tire you? Is it something that you need something to counterbalance this? So maybe if you have a very strenuous job, that you're doing something relaxing to refill this and counterbalance this. Next, we're going to talk about emotional. So, how can we refill our emotional tank? And what activities help to do this for you? Next is physical, and I'm sure by now you get the gist of what activities um, help you do this and how does it become filled. And I want to not only think of exercise and what we think of physical, but also think of nutrition, water, naps, relaxing, and stretching, because these are also things that really impact and contribute to our physical health as well and wellness. And next is environmental. I think the environment around us and the people around us play a really big role. So this is kind of two. But when we think of environment, the things that surround us, so how do you fill your environmental wellness tank? And how does the environment around you affect you? And really taking into account and considering what places you feel really comfortable and relaxed in, and what places that are different environments, whether it be someone else's home, maybe a grocery store, your house, how that environment makes you feel, and if this is something that may be refilling or recharging your wellness tank in that sense, or something that may be draining. And I think it's really important to have a balance because we don't constantly want to be pouring from the tank and we want to be able to refill the tank. So I think there's really a balance in both. And just because something's draining doesn't mean that it's not meaningful. We can think of going to the gym as draining our energy in some sense. For some people, it is energizing, and kudos to you. That's awesome. For some of them, it is for me. Um, but really just coming at it in that mindful aspect and accepting aspect that some things are going to be draining, but they also have some refilling. So it's really taking a reflective look at how those activities are and what we can do to contribute to our wellness tank and help to balance those activities, because unfortunately, we do have to do draining activities, and that's okay, and that's human. But I think it's important to also be refilling that wellness tank at the same time and hold it with just as much importance as we do those draining things, maybe. So, before I close up here, I would love to recognize again the book that I utilize for the mindfulness practice, which is called The Little Book of Mindfulness. I think this is great because it's very small and is a nice little thing to pull from. And I know for myself, I pull from it both professionally and personally. A little reminder to take some time for yourself each and every day to refill your wellness tank and to truly know that you're worth the time spent to refill your wellness tank, because I know at times life gets busy and it feels like it's just another task that we have to do. But it's important to take that moment for yourself and recognize that you're worth it and that it's going to, positively impact you in the future when you do take time for yourself. So take care this week, everyone, and please tune in next week. I'm so excited to have some great guests lined up, and I really appreciate you listening in this week. If you want to connect with me, I'll have the links below, and for all of the different things that I talked about, including the free PDF, click the links below, and have a great week. Goodbye now.